Hey guys and gals, it's the Cannabis Crone. Cutting myself out of bed to sit so I can just do a quick mini pod. I'm here with the dude, and of course, as always, he abides. I'm actually at Bemidji State Park, and kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to do this mini pod. Of course, per my last podcast, I'm on the spectrum, and boy, it's been a roller coaster of emotions, and also finding out things about myself that I would get down on myself for that I'm not going to do anymore, So at 54 years of age, I will finally learn how to be kinder to myself, and honor. I mean, I look back over my life, and late diagnosis worked for me on some levels and not for others. Let's just say the negative first. I kind of wish that I had known, because I think I could have been kinder to myself if I had known who I was, what I was, why I did what I did. It wasn't weird. It wasn't lazy. I wasn't trying to be defiant and bring people down and make people miserable, as I had always been told. A child does not want to hear, you're just miserable to be around. No kid wants to hear that. But when you are a child that's being bombarded with sensory issues, big ones that adults are passing off as not being important or not even being there. I've always had a problem with noises. I've gone through phases where I couldn't listen to the radio while we were driving in the car because they were competing. Nobody understood that. Again, why are you trying to be miserable during the car ride to Grandma and Grandpa's, They didn't realize that it was like causing me such severe anxiety. And that's how I learned how to scream inside of my head, so that I can look normal on the outside and yet still freak out on the inside and just, squealing brakes, dripping water, the sound of engines, heaters that make noise. I had to replace all of our really good heaters with these other ones that don't make noise, just because I couldn't sleep. Grow room lights, which is inconvenient when, I want to grow cannabis, because of the hum. And nobody else hears it, but I hear it. So, those ladies are so loud. There's some women here at the park, and I've been trying to escape them. And I mean, they're probably nice ladies, but they're so loud, and it's I don't want to hear any human voices right now. I really don't. Yeah, so there's that. There's all of these it, being when we were on the boat, it had a belt that was squealing, and that was really freaking me out and causing me anxiety, and I couldn't go out on the boat. And I was it's embarrassing to try to explain that to people, because when they tell you that they don't know what you're talking about and they look at you suspect, then that's kind of I think it's an unintentional gaslighting. I think that's what it is. So I think it's an unintentional gaslighting where people just realize that, or they think they know that, oh, she's a little bit crazy. She's hearing shit that's not there. But that's not true. I think that neurodivergent people, I've heard the term aspies, and I really like that. But I think that most aspies probably deal with that on some certain level. Severe noises. I hear noises that other people don't hear. And then it turns out that noise was happening, but everything else had to be turned off before I could prove that there was that little underlying noise. And people are like, how the hell did you hear that? Well, that's my life. And so I have to get away all the time. I'm hiking all the time, no matter what. This is where I need to be. Places like this, where there's just, for some reason, I love the desolation of the bogs and the forests. And Minnesota's, it's a beautiful state. I wish there weren't so many goddamn racists. That's another thing. Negative energy affects me. very deeply because I'm very empathic. I feel other people's energy. So when there's negativity in the room, it shuts me down. It affects me physically. And so escaping to places like this with the dude is how I stay healthy. But just, I'm going to toot my own horn here. I was just thinking about all the jobs that I've held over the years. I was a homeless advocate. I was a domestic violence outreach and education coordinator and an advocate for women, children's advocate. I was a legal advocate, all of that. Then I was a life coach, and I was a Beltrami Works facilitator. We coached people out of poverty. It was a really great program. That, of course, once once the bureaucracy got a hold of it, they ruined it. But a good friend of mine, Ellen Boyd, she came up with this curriculum. It was amazing. It was really asset-based so that we were able to coach people out of poverty. And not only did we coach them out of poverty, but they found gainful employment and they kept it. And they were able to kind of get to the life that they wanted because we were telling them all the great things that they had already that we could expand upon. And that's really important. And I think with autism, it's the same thing. When people are, when people are being told everything that's wrong with them that they need to fix, and they're not being told what is great about them and what they already have, then it's very depressing and demoralizing. Whereas when you start the conversation with, wow, you learned to mask without ever knowing that you had autism, that's really awesome. And you were able to do all these jobs, and you were able to, shield yourself for, and create your personas, and which I did do. And then I'm going to end this real quick. I don't want to go over like I did with the other one, but the other point I wanted to make was that when I started out as Kathy. Kathy was a weird little girl who had all these quirks, which now I know are stims, and compulsions, which were stims, and she did just the weirdest shit. And but she was also a very creative and loving little girl. And then after that, there was Catherine, who was, she was the advocate and the educator. And then there was Kat Mullen, who was the DJ radio personality. But Kathy was the real me. And I did everything that I could to distance myself from that name. Sorry. I did everything I could to distance myself from being Kathy because she was that weird little girl. And so now I'm trying to embrace her again. I've neglected her for long enough, and I need to, oh my goodness. What are you doing? Okay. Obviously, dude wants to get going, so I'm wrapping it up. See, he's a good director. So I just want to say that I think the most important thing about if you find out that you're on the spectrum late in the game is making sure that you do the self-care. The self-care is really important. So that's it. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to put a few links down here, and those links will take you to other YouTube channels where they specialize in Asperger's and neurodivergency and late spectrum diagnosis and all of that stuff. So you can check out these YouTube channels because, this isn't my wheelhouse. I just kind of wanted to share what I was going through. But there's a lot of exciting news in the cannabis front. So we will be doing a podcast on that in a couple days. Other than that, just be good to yourselves. And maybe, I don't know, maybe begin by having a conversation with your inner child and finding out what he or she needs you to do. Maybe it's just a hug. Have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. I love you guys. Namaste.